It's time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. Joining us are the Times chief sports reporter Martyn Ziegler and sports journalist and broadcaster Tusdiq Din. Hello and welcome to you both. Let's now take you through the Back Pages. Starting with The Sun, Dom and Dumber is their main headline, focusing on Tottenham and Manchester United, that dramatic game in the EFL Cup. In the Times, they also focus on the EFL Cup, but in addition, it's the RFU, which they describe as crisis hit at the moment. More on that to come. On the back page, they focus on Everton's new ownership group. We'll be talking about them, an exciting era they hail it as. Well, let's start with a dramatic game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that 4-3 win for Spurs over Manchester United in the Carabao Cup. Martyn, let's just start with you in that back page headline in The Sun. Dom and Dumb, a bit of a nod to that famous film starring Jim Carrey all those years ago, I think. I mean, how do you sum it up? Such a dramatic game, and the goalkeeper's taking centre stage as well.
Yeah, I think the headline reflects the fact that there was some really poor goalkeeping performances, both sides actually. Fraser Force had a couple of nightmarish moments, didn't he, which led to goals when Spurs were 3-0 up. And then right at the end, you've got just when Manchester United thought they could get back in it, you had Altay Bayındır flapping at a Son corner which went directly into the goal. Yes, one for the keepers to forget. Fright night, jeepers, creepers, keepers. But it was certainly great for the neutral.
Tusdiq, will it be mixed emotions for Ange Postecoglou? On the one hand, delighted his team are through to the last four of the EFL Cup, but equally concerned how they let that 3-0 lead slip.
Yeah, I mean, Spurs regulars will know they love their entertaining football and they love Ange Postecoglou when he delivers, but they also know that his side have that capability to do exactly what we saw unfold unbelievably on our screens when Kulusevski and Dominic Solanke give them a easy 3-0, you think, lead and, just see it out. But, it's not the Spurs way to see things out. And, they got nervous because, out of nowhere, it was the keepers. Yes, absolutely. We got keepers playing at the back and the sweeper keeper. Well, these guys just need to know how to save. And sadly, it did cost Tottenham to the point that when they got back to 3-2, Diallo chasing back initially with the second goal and then before that, another Fraser Forster error. And you have to think, look, you're Tottenham. Yes, we know you want to play, but sit back, keep the men behind the ball. But, Ange Postecoglou, he's already told us many times on many occasions that's not his way. And then he proved to be as nervy. I mean, he's talked about an election every weekend or every match day as opposed to a prime minister who's elected every 4 years. Well, he certainly gets the Tottenham vote now because they are into the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. Man United came close, but Ruben Amorim will know that his side certainly have the spirit, they have the ability to actually claw things back. But the trick for them is, just to try to keep the ball away from the keeper. So we've got Altay Bayındır. He didn't endear himself to, his teammates at that point and argued the call that made to the end. But, the reality is Tottenham walk away 4-3 the victors and into the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup.
Martyn, let's go to your paper, The Times. Spurs through after comedy of defensive errors is how they reflect on the game. Do you think there is plenty to ponder for both managers after how that match panned out?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if Amorim might think, did he get his team selection right? Should Onana perhaps have been in goal because he's just taken over. It's a great chance to get into the last four. But maybe that's regrets for other people. And as for Ange, I mean, it's almost classic, isn't it? That sort of sums up a season in one match. Spurs playing brilliantly going forward, but this sort of they're very, very fragile defensively, and when it starts going wrong and looks like it just completely collapses. So, it sums up his season, and I think for Amorim, it may be he'll look back on this as a bit of a missed opportunity.
Tusdiq, let's go to the back of the mirror. Still staying with Manchester United, and I guess a conundrum that Ruben Amorim and Marcus Rashford now have after what's been an eventful few days. Rash, cash, cut is the back page of the mirror. Perhaps looking at how Marcus Rashford and indeed Manchester United might be impacted by what's going on there at the moment. How do you see this playing out over the coming weeks?
It is sad. It is sad for Manchester United and for Marcus Rashford himself. You would say totally avoidable. The reality is that there is a situation there. We know Marcus Rashford is a top player. There is a top player in there, but we're not seeing it currently. We saw him actually emerge, if you like, from the first Ruben Amorim game at Ipswich Town with the new formation, three at the back, and Amad Diallo and Fernandes combined for Rashford to get the first goal away for the Ruben Amorim era in less than 2 minutes of that game. And he thought, look, this young, talented 27-year-old has found his feet under this new manager. He's bought into it. But I think the die was cast beforehand because Amorim, remember, he's mentioned in a press briefing that, look, with Marcus Rashford in America, it was all sanctioned, it was all official, not by him, by a previous regime. So he was absolutely, he's entitled to be there because the club cleared it. But it would not be something he would have wanted to have seen. And perhaps in Amorim's mind, he wanted him to be there when he turned up for the initial training. But, if he was at an NBA game watching, basketball, that was his prerogative because it was agreed. But that kind of mentality, I think, in the eyes of Amorim, just showed something in him that he thought, look, we need to get to the bottom of this. Maybe when they had face-to-face talks, maybe they had disagreement there. But whatever advice was given to Marcus Rashford, you just say, look, it needs to be something that kept all this in-house, under wraps, because, now it's out there in the public, and he may have burnt his bridges, but we heard in the midweek press conference that Ruben Amorim said, look, he's a talent. Manchester United need talent, and, he's certainly something that we need to look at the situation regarding him. He wants him to stay at the club. But, then we saw he didn't travel down as the team gathered for the journey down from Stockport yesterday. Maybe you thought, look, he's coming on later scheduled or unscheduled form of transport. But, he wasn't there. He wasn't in the squad. Oleksandr Garnacho, by token difference, was the other man who was not involved at the weekend. Now, he was in the squad and he came on today. But, you just have to say it's something that Marcus Rashford would want to look at. Financially, he's secure for the rest of his life. We know his situation with regards to the work he's done with the Trust of Trust and with all the good work he does, school meals for kids in the summer, having been a product of that environment himself. And that may be key to the door, that nobody has come forward from his environment to say something like Marcus Rashford and his lived experience. Is people from the outside coming in, maybe somebody from his community, from his background in the football circles. If you notice after the Ipswich game, Lee Grant was one of the first people he spoke to, former coach at Manchester United, now coaching at Ipswich, and the two of them had a chat as they walked off. Maybe he needed somebody like that around him to say, look, this can be resolved. You're a Manchester United person. You're a Manchester United lad. You've been there as a 7-year-old. You need to buckle under. You need to do the hard work. But we know he doesn't track back. He doesn't defend. In Ruben Amorim's team, you have to do that.
Yeah. Martyn, as far as this situation is concerned, we saw post-match after the Tottenham game, Ruben Amorim facing more tricky questions about Marcus Rashford's future. Those tricky questions will continue as this situation plays out. How do you assess the current position Manchester United and Marcus Rashford are in?
Yeah, he was asked about it again after the match tonight, wasn't he, Amorim, and said, he's a Manchester United player, he'll be at training, blah, blah, blah. But, to me, I think that there's no way back, really. When you have Amorim talking about things like, the way he dresses, and then Rashford coming out and saying very publicly that he's ready for a new challenge, it's very difficult to go back from that position. So I think it's the end of a long love affair for Marcus Rashford and Manchester United. Quite where he goes, to get somebody to try and match his salary is not going to be easy. And do Man United, what sort of transfer fee do they want? It's that's a conundrum as well. So I think it's over. Stranger things have happened, and they managed to find some sort of way of getting back together, but I can't see it.
Let's take you to the Mail, staying with Manchester United. Martin, it says Sir Jim gives United 80 million after taking bigger stake. Now, Martin, this was all part of the contractual dealings, wasn't it, when Sir Jim Ratcliffe got involved with Manchester United? But how significant a step forward is this?
I think it's. I mean, we knew when he took over the operations and bought 25% of the club a year ago, he was going to invest $300 million in it, and this is the final chunk of that. This is $100 million, £80 million. So it's significant in terms that it brings much needed money into the club. But on the other hand, fans may be a bit disappointed. None of this is going to go on players. This is all about funding the improvements that need to be made to the infrastructure. So it's money that the club really needs, but in terms of strengthening on the pitch, which I'm sure Amorim would be very keen to do, I don't think any of this money can go to that.
You are watching Back Pages tonight. Welcome back. And also, welcome back to the Times Chief Sports Reporter Martyn Ziegler and sports journalist and broadcaster Tusdiq Din. Let's get into more of the Back Pages then, gentlemen, to The Guardian, and also focusing on Everton. An exciting era, this long-running takeover saga concluding, Tusdiq. How hopeful should Everton fans be?
Very hopeful. They've been waiting a long time. That the courtship, shall we say, has been ongoing with the 777 Group, initially interested, but the Miami-based organisation, which has ties to Crystal Palace, couldn't do the deal quickly enough, and in has come the Friedkin Group. Dan Friedkin is a billionaire in his own right, inherited the wealth from all sorts of business, but as regards to Everton, he's promising to take Everton back to what they crave, the top six of English football, and rightly so. Farhad Moshiri comes down, if you like, on a mixed bag, if you like, with the fans. He's something that is a divisive character. He delivered the 52,000, sort of slightly short of 53,000 new stadium at Bramley Moor Dock, which will be ready from the start of next season. And then we have to leverage not only the football matches and the merchandise that goes with that, but also off-match concerts and utilise the facility that they have. And Everton fans are absolutely delighted with the fact that they can get moving. What comes into focus now is the contract for Sean Dyche. Will he be kept on, or will with the Friedkin Group have other ideas?
Yeah, big decisions ahead. And this story also featuring in the Telegraph, Everton's new era. Martin, I just wonder, when we look at this this new ownership situation for Everton and the Friedkin Group, what will be their key priorities?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a big decision to make, don't they, with Sean Dyche? They're going to meet him. My colleague Paul Joyce has reported it very, very soon. He's not met them yet. His contract's up at the end of the season. What happens there? They've seen at Roma, which they also own, that they can be very ruthless. They sacked Mourinho out of hand in January last year after a poor run. So they're not afraid to take tough decisions. I think their priority will be, obviously, to ensure that Everton remain in the Premier League and then start building from there. And it's a great opportunity for them. It was crying out for somebody with a lot of money to come in and to be able to utilise this brand new stadium that they're going to have, because that can be a massive cash generator and put the club back on its feet, because it's been struggling for a long time now.
Martin, a word on Farhad Moshiri. How will his reign be remembered at Everton?
Well, I think people will look at him as somebody who spent a lot of money in the club. but didn't spend it very well. Got into problems with building up lots of debts, and I think probably didn't handle the finances particularly well. So when the COVID came, they were left high and dry. That led to the first ever points deduction for profit and sustainability rule breaches, and so I think people will think he certainly wasn't tight-fisted, but he perhaps wasn't as prudent and as financially astute as he could have been.
Tusdiq, just want to turn our focus to boxing now. A dramatic day as the two heavyweight contenders faced off in Riyadh for 11 minutes and 13 seconds. Really hugely anticipated fight. And this story, albeit not the face-off, featuring in the Telegraph, Furys' 5,000 calorie diet plus. I mean, he really has put a lot into this training camp, something like 3 months in Malta. How do you read the situation just a couple of days out from the big fight, Tusdiq?
Well, you just look at Fury, and he's absolutely gone for the rematch, knowing that his record in rematches that he's won every one of them. This one he thinks will be no different. He's absolutely put his heart, soul, and obviously taken up the dietary and the nutrition supplements and all the sort of like the paraphernalia that goes with that, with regards to eating right, making sure that that the calorie intake is as high as that. That's a phenomenal amount for one individual. But he's a huge specimen. He looks in good shape, and you've got to say he absolutely, by not even speaking to his wife for 3 months, he said has given himself to this fight because his legacy is on the line. With regards to his status in boxing, maybe that's all we see. But the fight that we want after this one possibly is with Anthony Joshua. But after Joshua got battered by Dubois, you got to think that maybe that could not happen. But Riyadh season is up and running, and this is absolutely the pinnacle. You've got to say that.
Martyn, have you seen a different approach from Tyson Fury in the build-up to this big fight?
Not really. I think it's a sort of tried and tested method, isn't it? And or even the sort of this incredible, massive stare out that they had to the fighters today. I think like standing, glaring at each other for 11 minutes. And I think the first 8 minutes, neither of them said a word, and then Tyson unleashed a sort of volley of insults and swear words, which he's done before. And it's all sort of it's not just part of the show. I think it's also part of his psychological approach, but getting himself wound up, but also perhaps trying to get some sort of rise from his opponent and perhaps get some sort of crack in their defence ahead of the actual boxing match. So I think it's the way he approaches it, and he is very dedicated in the build up to these fights. He lets himself go a bit between them, but he really puts everything into it just beforehand.
Martyn, I want to stay with you and your paper, The Times, and talk rugby, because there's a lot going on at the moment, isn't there, at the top of the game? And the headline in your paper, Bowmont in at crisis hit RFU, England legend Bill Bowmont set to be interim chairman. Just what on earth is going on at the RFU at the moment?
Yeah, rugby's governing body is in a real fix. It's lost tens of millions of pounds last year. It's struggling on that financial front, but at the same time caused absolute uproar amongst many people in the sport when it was revealed that the chief executive had got the highest ever pay for a chief executive of a governing body in England, but more than £1.1 million. Bill Sweeney. That has led to a sort of revolt amongst the people who run the sport, the RFU Council. There's emergency meetings, and it's now been revealed by my colleague Matt Lawton that Bill Bowmont, the former World Rugby chairman and also former RFU president himself, is being lined up to take over as the interim chairman of the RFU from Tom Ilube, to try and get the sport out of this crisis.
Tusdiq, want to go back to you and back to football as well, the Express, and talk about Wolverhampton Wanderers, because they've got a new boss at the helm, Vitor Pereira. What do you make of this appointment, and how confident are you he's going to be given funds to strengthen the squad in January.
Yeah, he's a very popular appointment currently. You have to say, also plays with three at the back, 3-4-3 or 3-5-2. He's much travelled, and he's occupied some good hot seats in certain parts of the world, coming from Al Shabaab this time around in Saudi Arabia. But more than anything, he will be a communicator because he'll inherit Brazilian and Portuguese players, obviously Portuguese speakers in that dressing room. And what we don't want to see are the scenes that we saw after the match at West Ham with Lemina and Bowen were unable to shake hands, or there was an incident there. And then obviously Nuri in the game against Ipswich at Molyneux, Nuri with Matthias Cunha. Cunha's now been charged by the FA. We don't want things like that, but what they have to do is get that fighting spirit and make sure that they can get that on hand and make sure that the team can survive. It is going to be a tough ask. It's so surprised he's wanting to come into this, but he feels it's unfinished business in the top flights of Europe, and he wants to make sure that he can restore something of credibility, because he's also one of these people that can go around winding people up the wrong way, a la Mourinho. But right now, the owner of Wolves and Friedkin Group, have gone back to Portugal. They've gone back to a Portuguese speaker. And many Wolves fans will say, well, why did we get rid of Nuno Espirito Santo in the first place? But, that's a decision that's been taken. And Wolves fans will certainly wish him all the best.
Martyn, just want to finish with the EFL Cup semi-final draw. Arsenal against Newcastle, Tottenham against Liverpool. Who do you see as favourites?
I think you'd say the favourites are probably going to be an Arsenal-Liverpool final, because that's the on current form anyway. I do think this is yet another opportunity for Newcastle to get that elusive trophy that they've been sort of desperately waiting to for so long. They got to the final previously, so I think Eddie Howe will be absolutely gunning for this in every possible way. But I think everybody will want to win this trophy. It's people realise now that it's actually very important, and we've some of the quarterfinals we've seen have been brilliant to watch for the viewers. So I just think it's going to be a fascinating semi-finals, both of them actually, and there's going to definitely be lots of goals.